So this evening, I want to bring to you an encouragement from the book of Psalm 78, and especially this psalm that is written by Asaph. And the encouragement that I want to bring to you today, and the challenge that I would like to bring to you today, is that Asaph was encouraging the people, and especially his people, that the Lord had placed a responsibility on them to remember the deeds, the awesome deeds, the good things that the Lord had done to them. So Asaph was telling his colleagues and his people, his tribesmen, that they need to take up the responsibility of telling their children about the good things that God had done. You see, Asaph was trying to kind of stop a history of their generation being stubborn. And he was telling them, remind them of the things that God did in the past. Tell your children, then your children will tell their children, and their children will tell their other children. In other words, Asaph was trying to tell them that if we need to keep godliness going on from one generation to another, you see, in the African setup, we only inherit property, money, and wealth. But Asaph was, in other words, telling these people that as much as you would need to see the other generations fearing God, you need to commit yourselves to do one thing. Tell your children of the awesome things that God did. Then they will tell the other children. Then this stubbornness will come to an end. And you see, parents, this is the same responsibility that God has placed on us. Parents, big sisters, big brothers, uncles, and aunties. We are mandated by God not to do any other thing, but to tell our children about God. Tell them about the awesome deeds that God has. In other words, God has placed on you and on me to raise up a generation for Him. He wants me and you to tell our children about Him. Then those children will tell the other children. In other words, He is telling us that we need to build a culture of telling children about God. And you see, the Bible is very rich with a lot of miracles, a lot of good things that God did, good and bad, because He punished those people who disobeyed and He rewarded those who obeyed. And we are called upon by God to tell our children about Him. In other words, the Great Commission is not only for missioners, pastors, and those people who work in churches and those people who belong to the evangelism teams. No, the Great Commission is for each and every one of us. Remember what Psalm 127 says, that children are a reward from the Lord. So like Asaph, I would like to remind you that you need to tell your generation and my generation about God. Then they will tell others. In other words, they will pass on values from this generation to another. Then maybe the stubbornness we see in our country will not go on. That is what Asaph was telling these people. And I'm challenging you this evening to tell your child about God. Then they will tell their children, and you will pass on godliness, good values from one generation to another. The Lord bless you. Please remember, your child matters to God. So tell them about Him. Amen.